She smiles, and your soul starts bleeding. You don't know why, but something's off, and deep down, you feel it. This isn't love. It's a silent war. You were raised to protect, provide, and persevere. You were taught to be the rock, but no one warned you about her, the one who doesn't destroy you with fists or screams, but with soft words, cold eyes, and twisted games. She doesn't want peace. She wants control. She doesn't want to grow with you. She wants to grow on you, drain you, twist you, break you, and then blame you. Today we're ripping off the mask. You'll hear the signs. You'll feel them in your chest, in your memory, in your regret. And by the end of this video, you will recognize these traits and know exactly what to do. Number 1. She thrives when you're down. Her smile gets brighter when you're in pain. It's terrifying when you notice it. When you lose your job, she suddenly becomes attentive. When you miss a deadline or feel crushed by stress, she makes your favorite meal, strokes your ego, pretends to nurture you. But it's not love, it's leverage. She thrives when you're down because it levels the playing field, because your success threatens her illusion of control. She wants a broken version of you, a version she can fix, manipulate, and keep indebted. This is her territory. Your failure is her home. You stay broken, she stays in power. And when you begin to rise, when you find your rhythm, she subtly sabotages, makes you late for meetings, then she plays innocent. She doesn't celebrate you in private. She only performs for others. The moment someone else is watching, she becomes the supportive partner. But behind closed doors, she mocks your ideas. She rolls her eyes when you speak about your plans. She says things like, "Don't get your hopes up," or "Let's be realistic," which really means, "Shrink so I don't feel small." And you start shrinking. You keep your wins quiet. You start lying about your dreams, not to protect them from the world, but to protect them from her poison. This is not partnership. This is sabotage in slow motion. And when you finally snap, she calls you angry, unstable, or immature. She uses your growth against you. If you get promoted, she jokes that you'll leave her for someone prettier. These aren't jokes. These are alarms. What do? Stop explaining your evolution to someone committed to your stagnation. Realize this. You can't build a future with someone invested in your past. The moment you sense her joy is rooted in your weakness, you detach, quietly, calmly, without drama. Your power lies in walking away without announcing it. You don't argue with someone who benefits from your struggle. You rise without apology. Because if a woman only loves you when you're broken, she was never loving you. She was loving her reflection in your ruin. Number 2. Logic doesn't work anymore. You try to reason with her, to have honest conversations like an adult, thinking if you just explain clearly, calmly, rationally, she'll understand. But she doesn't want understanding. She wants chaos. And every time you bring logic, she brings emotional grenades. You say, "Let's talk about this." And she says, "Why are you always trying to control the conversation?" You ask, "Can we fix this together?" And she responds with silence, tears, or worse, twisting your words into accusations until you forget what the original point even was. She deflects when she's wrong. She attacks when she's cornered. She floods every discussion with feelings, vague generalizations, and unrelated complaints until your mind is spinning. You try to speak truth, and she drowns it in drama. You start walking into every disagreement like it's a minefield, trying to tiptoe through emotions that explode no matter how careful you are. And you start losing yourself, questioning your sanity, because no matter how patient, kind, or clear you are, she always ends the argument with you apologizing for things you didn't do, for feelings she created, for chaos she caused. You have to understand, This isn't miscommunication, it's manipulation. The moment you try to make sense of her behavior, she accuses you of starting a fight. If you stay calm, she claims you don't care. If you show emotion, she says you're unstable. And you begin to learn that in her world, truth doesn't matter, only perception does. What must you do? Recognize the cycle. Understand that emotional manipulation wears 1,000 faces: tears, silence, sarcasm, guilt, blame, but they all serve the same purpose: power. You stop trying to prove facts to someone allergic to truth. You walk away from circular conversations that go nowhere. You start documenting patterns. You write things down, not for her, for you, to remember what really happened when the gaslighting starts. You stop trying to be understood by someone determined to misunderstand you. And most importantly, you reclaim your ability to say, "I see it clearly. I don't need her to admit it." Because peace isn't found in convincing someone else. It's found in being fully convinced yourself. Number 3. She uses guilt as her weapon. She doesn't yell. She sighs. She doesn't confront. She withdraws. She doesn't need to say, "You're a bad man." She just makes you feel like one. And guilt becomes her favorite tool, sharp as a knife, silent as poison. You cancel a date because work ran late, and she goes cold, not angry, just disappointed. She doesn't say much, but the silence is thick with punishment. You take a weekend to yourself to reset your mind, and she tells you she feels abandoned. You prioritize a goal, a dream, a boundary, and she frames it as betrayal. Suddenly you're explaining why your life can't revolve around her. You're apologizing for growing. You're justifying rest, ambition, focus, basic things you should never have to apologize for. This is how guilt works. She doesn't force you to change. She lets your conscience do the heavy lifting. And the more empathetic, compassionate, self-aware you are, the easier you are to guilt. First, you recognize it. That twisting in your gut is not always a moral compass. Sometimes it's a signal that someone else is pulling your strings. Then you draw the line, firm, not cruel. You say what you need. You do what's right, not what's expected. You lean into stoicism. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. You don't argue with the guilt. You outgrow it. You stop expecting her to understand, because guilt is her currency, and your emotional freedom threatens her economy. You stop paying. You do what aligns with your values. And when the guilt shows up again, as it will, you greet it with strength, not surrender. Number 4. She detaches when you set boundaries. You finally speak up. You finally say no. You set a simple boundary, not to control her but to protect your peace, and she flips, not always loudly, sometimes subtly, sometimes with silence so loud it rings. She starts pulling away, not just physically but emotionally, sexually, spiritually. You feel her slip through your hands like smoke. She stops texting back with the same warmth, stops making time, stops initiating connection. And when you ask what's wrong, she says she needs space, or that you've changed, or that something feels off. But what really happened is you told her, "I will not be controlled." And she heard, "You're losing your power." Boundaries aren't threats to healthy people. They're invitations to grow together. But for her, they're an insult, a disruption to her system of dominance. And so she punishes you for daring to have needs. You let her create distance if that's what she needs. You give her exactly what she asked for: space. And in that space, you thrive, you focus, you get sharper, calmer, stronger. You show, not her, but yourself, that you were never afraid of solitude, that your worth is not dependent on her approval, that her detachment doesn't destroy you, it frees you. Because the moment a woman makes you choose between your peace and her presence, the choice is already made. Number 5. She makes you doubt your worth. It starts small. She jokes about how other men dress better, how they plan surprises, how they hustle harder. And at first, you laugh with her, thinking it's harmless, playful even, until you realize every joke lands like a blow to your confidence. Every comparison chokes your spirit just a little more. She doesn't insult you directly, not right away. Instead, she praises others in your presence, eyes glittering with subtle admiration, not for you, but for every man you're not. And when you bring it up, when you say her words cut deep, she laughs like you're being too sensitive. You feel guilty for hurting. You question your masculinity. That's her trick. Not to break you outright, but to turn your own mind against you. She erodes your identity with 1,000 micro-attacks, always cloaked in humor or innocent observation. You stop pursuing your goals, not because you're lazy, but because deep down you think, what's the point? She'll start arguments over your ambition, not because she wants more from you, but because she fears what will happen if you realize how much more you deserve. Her words won't always be loud, but they'll echo for hours. You'll replay what she said. You'll question your instincts. You'll seek her approval instead of seeking your goals. And this is how she wins, not by force, but by distortion. What must you do? Return to yourself, take space, evaluate your thoughts and ask, is this my voice or hers echoing in my head? Every time you second-guess your worth, write it down, identify the source, burn the script she tried to write for your life. You were never meant to beg for approval, you were meant to lead. And a woman who truly sees your value will never make you question it. Number 6. She creates conflict when things are calm. You finally feel like things are good. You're working hard, staying focused, keeping drama out of your life. And just when you start breathing easy, she stirs something up. It's almost like peace makes her nervous, like she's addicted to emotional chaos. And when things are stable, she feels invisible. So she provokes. She brings up an old issue that was resolved months ago. She suddenly gets cold and says you're not present enough. She questions your loyalty because you didn't reply to a text fast enough. Or she picks a fight over your tone, accusing you of things you didn't say, didn't mean, didn't even think. She starts arguments late at night when you're tired. She ruins your weekend before it starts. And when you don't react, she escalates. She pushes until you break, then points at your reaction like you're the problem. This is intentional. She wants to see you bleed emotionally because it reaffirms her control. She doesn't just react to conflict, she craves it. It validates her belief that love is supposed to hurt, that passion equals pain, that stability is boring. You'll start anticipating the fights like storms. You think the fights start randomly, but they don't. They're timed, strategic. They happen right after you've had a win, when your confidence is rising, when your vision is clear, when you're just starting to feel free. That's when she flips the switch. She accuses you of being distant. She creates drama around your friends, your phone, your focus. She makes you feel guilty for not including her in every part of your growth, even though she showed no interest when you invited her. It's not about missing you. It's about missing control. She doesn't want partnership. She wants emotional dominance. She wants your mind focused on her, constantly checking her mood, fixing her emotions, feeding her validation. And you forget what it felt like to have a day without conflict, to go a week without apologizing, to breathe without feeling like you're failing someone. That's not love. That's emotional slavery. What must you do? Interrupt the pattern. Pay attention to timing. Don't react when provoked. Observe. You stop responding like a puppet and start acting with precision. You let her chaos burn itself out without stepping into the fire. You learn to protect your vision more than her validation. And eventually, you stop fearing her storms because you realize her thunder was never real. It was just loud noise trying to drown your mission. Number 7. She plays innocent, but you're always the villain. She never shouts in public. She doesn't cuss you out or throw things or rage like the women you've seen in movies. No, she plays the quiet role, the sweet, wounded dove with tearful eyes and a trembling voice, saying things like, "I just don't understand why he treats me this way." She crafts her narrative like an artist, building a version of reality where you are the unstable one, the cold one, the selfish one. She tells her friends how hard she tries. She paints herself as the one who gave everything and got nothing back. And meanwhile, you're sitting in the wreckage, trying to understand how she managed to twist your every action into evidence that you're the bad guy. You tried to set boundaries. She called it control. You tried to express your emotions. She called it emotional manipulation. And now, the world sees you as the villain in a story she's been quietly rehearsing since the moment she knew she couldn't control you anymore. This is not accidental. This is weaponized innocence, and it's one of the most dangerous forms of manipulation because it appeals to the outside world while destroying your inside world. She doesn't need to prove anything to you. She just needs to convince everyone else. She uses selective truth, and if you speak up, you look bitter. If you defend yourself, you look aggressive. So what must you do? You stop trying to win a trial held in her imagination. You stop presenting evidence to people who are invested in her victimhood. You let the lie live in her world, but not in yours. Don't waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors. He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe. That's your power. You take back your name by becoming unshakable. You don't try to clear your name to her audience. You walk off the stage and build your life where her voice has no reach. And when the dust settles, and it always does, you won't be bitter. You'll be free. And that freedom, that quiet, grounded, stoic freedom, is the final nail in her narrative. And when people believe her story, when mutual friends stop calling, it hurts. But that pain, that sting of isolation, it's not injustice. It's the price of freedom. It's the toll you pay to exit the illusion. Because here's the truth. Anyone who believed her without asking you, without seeing both sides, was never truly in your corner. Her weaponized innocence exposes not just her darkness, but the silence of others. And this is where Stoicism saves you, not by numbing your feelings, but by refining your perception. You stop expecting fairness from those who benefit from fiction. You stop trying to correct lies dressed up in emotional theater. You hold the line. You go dark. You let her spin the story because you no longer need the audience. You're not playing the role of the misunderstood man anymore. You're writing your own script now. You don't show receipts. You don't chase apologies. You don't correct narratives. You embody your truth so deeply that people who matter feel it without a word. And that's the Stoic path. To rise from emotional war not wounded, but wise. You didn't need anyone to confirm them. You recognize the truth behind every word because you've lived it. You've stayed too long. You've given too much. You've explained, defended, justified, apologized for simply wanting peace. But here's what you must understand. The longer you stay where your soul is being strangled, the harder it becomes to remember who you are. A woman who truly loves you will never make you doubt your value. She will not compete with your growth. She will contribute to it. And if her patterns match these signs, she is not confused. She is calculated. You do not fix her. You do not fight for her. You leave her in the chaos she created and choose the silence where your healing begins. And now, it's time to choose. Choose to walk away. Choose to stand tall without needing applause. Choose the path that doesn't beg for peace, but embodies it. Don't just survive her, transcend her. Let her talk. Let them watch. While you build a life so grounded in power that no storm can touch you. You don't need closure. You need clarity. You don't need to be right. You need to be free. And you don't owe anyone your pain just to prove you're a good man. You owe yourself everything. If this video spoke to you, don't just watch and scroll. Share this with a man you care about. There's someone out there being slowly dismantled by charm and chaos, and he needs these words before it's too late. Support this channel, not just for content, but for clarity. Because with every click, share and subscribe, you help break the silence. You help expose what no one else dares to say. You help build a space where men don't have to bleed in silence to be seen.